The morning crept slowly over the underpass of the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway in New York City. The noise of cars was already beginning to take over the city, but down below, among cardboard boxes and torn tarps, Leo Sullivan was still asleep. At 14, the boy already knew the weight of the world on his shoulders. His old rusty wheelchair was parked next to the thin mattress where he spent his nights. His mother, Mary, was already awake, organizing the bags of cans and plastic bottles they had collected the day before. His father, John, was coughing as he tried to light a makeshift stove to make coffee. Leo slowly opened his eyes. His body ached. It always ached. Ever since the accident 5 years ago, when the bus lost control and crashed onto the sidewalk where he was playing. The doctors said he would never walk again. His parents, already living on the edge, lost everything trying to pay for his treatment. They ended up on the streets, and there they stayed. "Good morning, my son," said Mary with that tired smile that tried to hide her sadness. "It's Monday. Time to collect the cans from the park. Are you coming with me?" Leo nodded. He always went. Not out of obligation, but because he knew his mother needed him. Together they could cover more ground. He in his chair, she pushing the modified shopping cart that served as their mobile depot for recyclables. They were an efficient team. Even if the world looked at them with disdain, they had each other. After some watery coffee and a piece of stale bread split 3 ways, they set off. Central Park was far, but it was worth it. On weekends, people left a lot of trash there, cans, bottles, even cardboard, money waiting to be collected. It was Monday, but there were still leftovers from Sunday. Leo pushed his own chair with force. His calloused hands no longer complained. Mary walked beside him, talking about plans. Simple plans. To have a house one day. To have food without having to rummage through trash cans. One day, maybe, Leo would go back to school. The park was quiet at that hour. A few joggers, people walking their dogs, children on their way to school. Leo and Mary began the silent work of picking up what others threw away. That's when Leo heard a strange noise, a muffled groan. He stopped, looking around. A man was lying near a bench a few yards ahead. People passed him by, swerving, moving on. No one stopped. "Mum, there's someone on the ground over there," Leo said, pointing. Mary looked hesitant. "Son, we can't get involved in trouble, you know how it is." But Leo was already on his way. The wheelchair glided quickly across the pavement. When he got closer, he saw it was an elderly man, well dressed in a grey suit and polished shoes. He was pale, sweating coldly, his hand clutching his chest. Leo recognized the scene. His grandfather, before he passed, had something similar. A heart attack. "The man needs help," Leo shouted, looking around. "Someone, please." No one stopped. Some glanced from a distance and quickened their pace. Leo then took out the old cell phone his mother used to call the scrapyard. It had little credit, but enough. He dialed 911. Ambulance. He gave the address, described the situation, said it was urgent. Mary arrived, out of breath. "Leo, what are you doing?" "He's sick, Mom. I can't just leave him." The man tried to speak, but the words came out weak. "Thank you, young man. Thank you so much." "Stay quiet, sir. You're going to be okay. The ambulance is on its way." The minutes felt like hours. Leo stayed there, holding the man's hand, talking to him, keeping him awake. The man told him, between pauses, that his name was Arthur. Arthur Thompson. A businessman. A widower. No children. He lived alone in a huge apartment on Park Avenue. That day, he had gone out for a walk, as he did every morning. Then his chest tightened. When the ambulance arrived, the paramedics acted quickly. Leo explained what he had seen. They praised the boy's actions. They said he had probably saved the man's life. Arthur, already on the stretcher, reached out his hand to Leo. "Thank you, boy. What's your name?" "Leo. Leo Sullivan." "Leo. I'll remember that." And he was taken away. Mary hugged her son. "You have a big heart, my son. Too big for this small world." But Leo couldn't stop thinking about the man. In the following days, while collecting trash in the streets, he wondered if Mr. Thompson was okay. Did he have family visiting? Was he alone in the hospital? The idea of someone being alone sick bothered Leo deeply. He knew what loneliness was. A week later, Leo was in Union Square collecting cans near a newsstand when he heard someone call his name. He turned and saw a man in a suit, accompanied by Mr. Thompson. But Mr. Thompson looked different, thinner with a cane but alive, and smiling. "Leo, my boy," Arthur said, his voice emotional. "Mr. Thompson, you're okay." "I am, thanks to you. The doctors said if I had been a few more minutes without help, I wouldn't be here. I just did what anyone would do." "No, Leo, you did what almost no one did. Dozens of people passed me by. You were the only one who stopped. And you're a child in a wheelchair who faces your own challenges every day. Yet, you stopped to help a stranger." Leo felt his cheeks burn. He didn't know what to say. Arthur then knelt, getting down to the boy's level. "Can I ask you a question? Why do you live on the street?" Leo swallowed hard. He looked at his own feet, at the old chair, at his dirty clothes. "Because life has been hard on us," he said softly, "but we get by." "Do you go to school?" Leo shook his head. "There's no way, Mr. Thompson. We have to work, every day." "And what if I told you that you could change that?" "What do you mean?" Arthur took a deep breath. "Look, Leo, I'm an old man. I have no family. I built an empire on my own, but I never had anyone to share it with. When you saved me, I saw something in you, something I've never seen in any of the executives who work for me. You have character, you have kindness, and you don't learn that in college. That comes from within." Leo didn't understand where this was going. Arthur continued, "I'd like to help you, to help your family, but I don't just want to give you money. I want to get to know you. I want us to talk, for you to tell me what life is like, and I'll tell you what mine was like. What do you think?" Leo blinked, confused. "You want to be my friend?" Arthur smiled. "Something like that." And so it began. Every week Arthur would go to the underpass where Leo and his family lived. He brought food, blankets, but most importantly he brought his time. He would sit on the ground next to Leo and they would talk. About everything, about life, about dreams, about fears. Arthur told stories of when he was young, of how he started by selling candy on the street and built a technology company that employed hundreds of people. Leo told him about the accident, about the feeling of being invisible, about his desire to go back to school. Mary and John were suspicious at first. They thought it was some kind of scam. But over time they saw that Arthur was sincere. He didn't want anything in return. He just wanted company. And Leo was giving him that. The months passed. Arthur taught Leo things, math, history, even some English literature. He brought books, notebooks. Leo absorbed everything like a sponge. He was quick, smart, curious. Arthur was impressed. "This boy has a future," he would tell Mary. "He can go far." But Arthur was also getting older. His health, weakened by the heart attack, was not the same. He began to talk about the future, about what would happen to the company when he was no longer there. Leo listened sadly. He didn't like to think about it. One day, Arthur arrived accompanied by two men in suits. He introduced them as his lawyers. "Leo, I need to have a serious talk with you and your parents." The four of them met at a nearby diner. Arthur paid for sandwiches and sodas. Then he began to speak. "I've made a decision. I want to leave everything I've built to Leo." Mary almost choked. John turned pale. Leo didn't understand. "Everything, Mr. Thompson. Everything. My shares, my company, my house. Everything. But with one condition." "What is it?" "I want you to take a test. I want you to go to the company headquarters alone, dressed as you are now, and introduce yourself as the new owner. Without mentioning me, without any proof, just your word. I want to see how people will treat you." "But why?" "Because I need to know if the people who work for me are worthy of staying there, if they respect people for who they are, not for what they appear to have. And you, Leo, are the perfect test. You're young. You live on the street. You're in a wheelchair. If they treat you well without knowing who you are, they deserve to stay. If they humiliate you, they don't deserve to be in my company. Leo felt a knot in his stomach. I'm going to be humiliated, Mr. Thompson. Probably, but I'll be there. Not physically, but my lawyers will be on standby. As soon as you give the signal, they'll come in and confirm everything. Are you in? Leo looked at his parents. Mary had tears in her eyes. John was in shock. Then Leo took a deep breath and nodded. I'm in, Arthur smiled. I knew you would be. You're brave, Leo, braver than any adult I know. In the following days, Arthur arranged everything. The papers were signed. A formal will was registered. Leo was now, officially, the heir to 82% of the shares of Thompson Tech, a giant in the technology sector. But no one besides Arthur, his lawyers and Leo's family knew it. The day of the test was set for a Monday. Arthur was hospitalized again, but this time in a comfortable private room. He insisted on watching everything via video. He installed a small camera in Leo's backpack. I want to see everything, he said. I want to see the true character of the people who work for me. The night before, Arthur called Leo for a private chat at the hospital. Tomorrow, you're going to enter a world that isn't kind to people like us, he said. They'll judge you by your appearance, they'll look down on you, they'll laugh at you. But remember, you're not doing this for revenge. You're doing this to find out the truth, and the truth, however painful, is always worth it. I know, Mr. Thompson, but I'm scared. Fear is good, it means you're alive, it means you care. Just don't let fear paralyze you. What if I can't do it? Arthur held the boy's hand. You've already accomplished more than most people do in a lifetime. You saved me. You saved yourself. Tomorrow, you're going to save the integrity of a company, and you're going to show everyone that character has nothing to do with money, a degree, or a title. Leo left the hospital with a heavy heart. That night, he could barely sleep. He thought about what he would face. He thought about the stares, the laughter, the cruel words. But he also thought about Arthur, about everything he had done for him, about how that man, a stranger, had believed in him when no one else did. In the early morning, Mary woke Leo up. Today's the day, my son. Are you ready? Leo looked at his mother. He saw in her eyes all the love in the world, all the pride, all the hope. I'm ready, Mom. Then go, and show them who you really are. Leo got ready, or rather, he didn't. He wore the same clothes as always, the worn-out t-shirt, the pants torn at the knee, the sneakers with holes. He didn't comb his hair. He didn't try to hide that he lived on the street. That was exactly what Arthur wanted, the raw, unvarnished truth. John helped push his chair to the bus stop. The journey to Park Avenue took almost an hour. When they got off, Leo looked up. The Thompson Tech building was imposing. 30 floors of mirrored glass, reflecting the grey New York sky. It looked like a giant of concrete and ambition. And he, a 14-year-old boy in a rusty wheelchair, was about to go inside and declare himself the owner. John hugged his son. I believe in you, Leo, I always have. Leo felt tears welling up, but he held them back. Not now. Now was the time to be strong. He pushed his chair toward the revolving door. The glass doors opened automatically, and then he was inside. The lobby was exactly as Arthur had described. Polished marble floors, mirrored walls, cold air conditioning, a massive chandelier on the ceiling. The air smelled of expensive perfume. People in suits and high heels hurried past, carrying briefcases and cell phones. No one looked at anyone. It was a world of appearances, and Leo was about to challenge it. He approached the reception desk. The attendant, a blonde woman with manicured nails and red lipstick, was typing something on her computer. When she saw Leo, she grimaced. She raised an eyebrow. She looked him up and down with disdain. Can I help you? Her voice was cold, almost annoyed. Leo took a deep breath. Good morning. I'm here for a meeting. A meeting? The woman let out a short laugh. Are you sure you're in the right place? I am. It's on the top floor. She exchanged a look with the security guard beside her. The man, a large fellow with crossed arms, was already approaching. Look, kid, this isn't a place to beg for money, okay? There's a shelter down the block. Go there, they'll help you out." "I'm not here to beg. I'm here for a meeting." The receptionist rolled her eyes. "All right. What's your name? Let me check the schedule." "Leo Sullivan." She typed. Nothing. She looked at him with a mocking smile. "There's nothing here. You must be mistaken, or someone played a prank on you. Now do me a favor, and get out of here before I call the police." Leo felt the humiliation burn, but he didn't back down. "I'm going up." "No, you're not." "Yes, I am." And before she could stop him, Leo spun his chair and headed for the elevator. The receptionist shouted. The security guard ran after him. But Leo was faster. He got into the elevator, pressed the button for the 30th floor. The doors closed, and he went up, alone, toward the top of the building, toward the biggest challenge of his life. His heart was pounding, his hands were shaking. But Leo wouldn't turn back, because now he wasn't just doing this for Arthur. He was doing it for all the invisible people, for everyone who had ever been judged by their appearance, for everyone who deserved respect but never received it. And on that day, an ordinary Monday in a luxury building on Park Avenue, a 14-year-old boy in a wheelchair was about to change everything. The elevator ascended slowly, each floor marked by a soft beep. Leo watched the digital panel display the numbers 5, 6, 7. With each floor his breathing quickened. He remembered Arthur's words. Character isn't measured by appearance, and that was exactly what he was about to prove. When the doors opened on the 30th floor, Leo found himself in a wide, silent hallway. The floor was made of fine wood, the walls were adorned with expensive abstract paintings, and at the far end a frosted glass door with the words in golden letters, "Executive Boardroom." That was it. He pushed his chair slowly. A few employees walked down the hall, all in impeccable clothes and with serious expressions. When they saw Leo, they paused for a second, surprised. Some quickly averted their gaze, embarrassed. Others stared with a mixture of shock and disgust. A man in a navy blue suit even stopped and asked, "Are you lost, kid?" "No, I know where I am." The man frowned but didn't press the issue. He just shook his head and continued walking, muttering something about security. Leo reached the door of the boardroom. He took a deep breath. The hidden camera in his backpack was recording everything. Arthur was watching. It was time. He pushed the door open and went in. The room was enormous. A conference table that seemed 30 feet long dominated the center, surrounded by black leather chairs. On the walls, television screens displayed graphs and numbers, and seated around the table were 10 executives, all in suits and ties, all looking at papers, tablets, cell phones, until Leo entered. And then all eyes turned to him. The silence was immediate. 10 pairs of eyes fixed on the boy, on the rusty wheelchair, on the dirty clothes, on the unkempt hair, on the smell of someone who had slept on the street. For a few seconds, no one said anything. They just stared, as if Leo were an apparition, something out of place, a glitch in the system. Then one of the men sitting at the head of the table with glasses and a well-trimmed beard broke the silence. "Excuse me? You're in the wrong room." Leo moved to the center of the room, stopping beside the table. "No, I'm not." "What do you mean you're not? This is an executive meeting, private." "I know, and I'm here to participate." A murmur went through the room. Some executives exchanged glances. A woman with her hair in a tight bun let out a stifled laugh. "Is this serious?" Leo felt the heat rise in his face, but he kept his voice steady. "It's serious. I am the new owner of this company." Silence again. But this time it was followed by laughter. Loud, mocking, shameless laughter. The man with the glasses laughed so hard he had to take them off to wipe away tears. The woman with the bun clapped her hands sarcastically. Another executive, a man with graying hair and an arrogant posture, stood up and walked over to Leo. "Look here, kid. I don't know what kind of joke this is, but you've come to the wrong place. This is a serious company. You are not authorized to be here." "Yes, I am." "What?" The man leaned in, looking directly into Leo's eyes. His breath smelled of coffee and mint. "And who gave you that authorization?" That doesn't matter right now, but I am the new owner, and I came to see how you treat people. Another executive, younger, with slicked-back hair and a charcoal-grey suit, also approached. Dude, you live on the street, don't you? You can see it. You can smell it. Get out of here before we call security. I already got past security. Without authorization. With authorization. From whom? From the previous owner. The grey-haired man, whom Leo soon realized was Richard Morrison, the company's CEO, gave a dry laugh. Arthur Thompson? Mr. Thompson is in the hospital. He can barely get out of bed. And you want me to believe he gave you authorization to come in here? A street kid in a wheelchair? The words hurt, not just because of the tone, but because of the truth they carried. Yes, Leo lived on the street. Yes, he was in a wheelchair. But that didn't make him less. It didn't make him less human, and that was exactly what Arthur wanted to prove. Look, Richard began, crossing his arms, this is no place for you. This is a work environment for important people. People who studied, who dedicated themselves, who built careers. It's not a shelter for homeless people or whoever you are. Leo felt tears begin to form, but he blinked them back quickly. He wouldn't cry there, not in front of them. I'm not a homeless person. No? Then what are you? Richard asked mockingly. I'm the owner of this company. The table erupted in laughter again. One of the executives, a fat man, with a thin mustache, even banged on the table from laughing so hard. It's a joke, it's a prank, there's a hidden camera in here, people. There is, but it's not a prank. The door opened again. Everyone turned, and in walked two men in impeccable suits. They were Arthur's lawyers, Mr. Paul Harrison and Mr. Alexander Foster. Leo recognized them both immediately. They entered with a black leather briefcase and serious expressions. Richard frowned. Who are you? Mr. Paul Harrison introduced himself. Good morning. We are the legal representatives of Mr. Arthur Thompson, and we are here to officiate a transfer of assets. Transfer of assets? Richard repeated, confused. Mr. Alexander opened the briefcase and took out a folder with several documents. Exactly. Mr. Arthur Thompson, founder and former majority owner of Thompson Tech, has decided, in full consciousness and with legal backing, to transfer 82% of this company's shares to his legal heir. Legal heir? The woman with the bun stood up as well. But Mr. Thompson doesn't have any children. He has no family. He didn't. Now he does. Mr. Paul Harrison turned to Leo. Excuse me, sir. May I? Leo nodded, still in shock from the respectful treatment. The lawyer placed the folder on the table. Gentlemen, I present to you Leo Sullivan, the new majority owner of this company. All the documents are here, notarized, authenticated. The will was registered 3 weeks ago with full legal validity. Richard grabbed the papers, incredulous. He began to read, and as he read, the color drained from his face. He looked at Leo, then at the lawyers, then back at the papers. This can't be right. It is right, Mr. Alexander confirmed. Mr. Thompson made this decision freely and consciously, and he asked us to record everything, including this meeting. He's watching. Watching? The woman with the bun's eyes widened. Yes. There is a camera broadcasting everything to his hospital room. This was all planned. This was a test. A test? The man with the glasses asked, his voice trembling. A test of character, Mr. Paul Harrison explained calmly. Mr. Thompson wanted to know how the people who work in this company would treat someone who, in his words, has nothing. Someone who lives on the street, someone in a wheelchair, someone who, by the cruel logic of this world, shouldn't be here. And you have shown exactly who you are. The silence now was heavy, awkward. Some executives began to sweat. Richard dropped the papers on the table, stunned. But this is absurd. We didn't know. How could we have known? Exactly, Mr. Alexander replied. You didn't know. And because of that, you showed who you really are. People who only respect those with power, those with money, those with a title. But you disrespect, humiliate, and belittle those you consider inferior. We did nothing wrong, Richard tried to defend himself. We were just protecting the work environment. Protecting or judging by appearance? Richard didn't answer. No one answered, because they all knew the truth. Leo faced them one by one. He saw the shame in some of their eyes, the contained anger in others, but he saw no genuine remorse in any of them. Then Leo spoke, and his voice, though that of a 14-year-old boy, sounded firm and mature. "You laughed at me. You called me homeless, a cripple, an intruder. You said I had no right to be here, that this place is for important people. But do you know what I learned living on the street? I learned that character isn't measured by a degree, a bank account, or a title. It's measured by how you treat someone who can give you nothing in return, and you've shown that you have no character." Richard tried to interrupt. "Look here, you can't—" "Yes, he can," Mr. Alexander interrupted. "He is the owner, and he has every right to make any decision he wants." Leo took a deep breath. "So, as of now, you are all fired, except for one person." Everyone looked around, confused. "Who?" Leo pointed to a woman who had been sitting in the corner of the room, quiet the whole time. She wasn't an executive. She was Beatrice Martin, an administrative assistant. She was only there to take the minutes of the meeting, an invisible employee, like so many others. But Leo had noticed her, because when he entered, she didn't laugh, she didn't mock, she just looked at him with empathy. Her Beatrice. Beatrice looked up, surprised. "Me? You. You can stay." The executives exploded in protest. "This is ridiculous. You can't do this. We'll sue." But Mr. Paul Harrison raised his hand, silencing them all. "You can sue all you want, but the fact is, he is the owner, and he has full autonomy to fire whomever he wishes. All severance packages will be paid according to the law, but the decision has been made." Richard approached Leo, his face red with rage. "You'll regret this, kid. You'll bankrupt this company. You know nothing about business. You're just a child," Leo completed. "A child who lives on the street? A child in a wheelchair? Go on, say what you really think." Richard clenched his fists, but he said nothing, because he knew that anything he said would only further prove Leo's point. Mr. Alexander handed a letter to each of the executives. "Here are your termination notices. Please collect your personal belongings and leave the building. Security will escort you." And so, one by one, the executives left. Some in silence, others muttering threats. Richard was the last, casting a withering glare at Leo before slamming the door. When the room was empty, only Leo, the lawyers, and Beatrice remained. Beatrice was still in shock. "Sir, I don't know what to say." Leo looked at her. "Why didn't you laugh?" Beatrice blinked, confused. "What?" "When I came in, everyone laughed, but you didn't." "Because I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was sad. Seeing someone judged by their appearance has always made me sad." "Why?" "Because my mother always taught me that everyone deserves respect. It doesn't matter if they live in a mansion or on the street. If they wear a suit or torn clothes, they're people, and people deserve dignity." Leo felt a tightness in his chest. It was exactly what Arthur used to say. "How long have you been with the company?" 5 years, sir." "And you've never been promoted?" Beatrice looked down. "No, I've always just been the assistant. The one who takes notes, the one nobody sees." "Well, now you are seen. Mr. Harrison, can you prepare a promotion for her? Chief Operating Officer." "Co-o?" Beatrice's eyes widened. "Sir, I don't have experience in—" "You have something more important than experience. You have humanity. The rest we can teach." Beatrice began to cry, not from sadness but from emotion. No one had ever seen her that way. No one had ever believed in her. Mr. Alexander prepared the paperwork. "And what about her salary?" "Triple what she makes now, and include a full health plan for her and her." "Mother!" Beatrice covered her face with her hands, sobbing. "Thank you so much, sir, thank you so much." "Don't thank me, you deserve it. And from now on, I want you to treat every employee with the same respect you showed me. Deal?" "Deal." The lawyers then escorted Leo to the office that once belonged to Arthur. A huge room with a view of Park Avenue, a bookshelf full of books, a mahogany desk. Leo entered slowly, taking it all in. It was surreal. Hours ago he was collecting trash. Now he was in one of the most important offices, in New York City. Mr. Paul Harrison closed the door. "Mr. Thompson sent a message. He wants to talk to you." He turned on the laptop on the desk and opened a video call. Arthur's image appeared on the screen. He was in his hospital bed, with wires and monitors around him, but he was smiling, a weak but genuine smile. "Leo, my boy." "Mr. Thompson, you were incredible. I saw everything, every second, and you did exactly what I hoped you would. You showed character, you showed courage, and now this company is yours. For real." Leo felt the tears finally come. "I don't know if I can do this, Mr. Thompson. I don't know anything about business. I barely finished middle school." "You'll learn. I have the best consultants, the best tutors, and you have the most important thing, a good heart. With that, you'll go far." "And what if I fail?" "Everyone fails, Leo. What matters is if you get back up, and I know you'll get back up. You always have." Arthur coughed, a hoarse cough that made Leo worry. "Mr. Thompson, are you okay?" "I'm tired, my boy, but happy, very happy, because I know. I left my company in good hands. Now I need to rest. I'll visit you tomorrow. You don't have to. You have a lot of work ahead of you. But promise me one thing." "What?" "Promise me you'll never forget where you came from, that you'll never become like those men who humiliated you, that you'll never lose your humanity." "I promise." Arthur smiled. "Then that's good. Now go. Your family is waiting for you." The call ended. Leo stared at the blank screen, his heart heavy. Mr. Alexander placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "He's proud of you." "I know, it's just that it hurts, you know. He's sick and I can't do anything." "You've already done everything. You gave him peace, the certainty that his life had meaning. That's all anyone could ever want." Leo nodded. Then he lifted his head. "So now what? What do I do?" "Now you take charge. There's a meeting with all employees scheduled in an hour, in the auditorium, all departments. You're going to introduce yourself officially." Leo felt the nervousness return. "And what am I going to say?" "Tell the truth, who you are, where you came from, and what you expect from them." "And what if they don't respect me?" Mr. Paul Harrison smiled. "Then you fire them too." Leo gave a nervous laugh. "Okay." The next hour passed quickly. Leo was taken to a nearby apartment that Arthur had prepared for him and his family. Mary and John were there, waiting. When they saw their son, they ran to hug him. "You did it!" Mary cried. "My son, you did it!" John couldn't speak. He just held Leo tightly, as if afraid of losing him. Leo then told them everything. The humiliation, the revelation, the firings, Beatrice's promotion, and the call with Arthur. When he finished, his parents were in shock. "Does this mean we won't live on the street anymore?" Mary asked timidly. "No, Mum. We have a home now. A real home." Mary broke down in tears. John hugged his wife, and the three of them stood there embracing, crying with happiness. For the first time in years they had a future, a real future. But Leo knew the challenge was just beginning. Soon he would have to face hundreds of employees. He would have to prove himself. He would have to show that even as a 14-year-old boy who lived on the street, he was worthy of leading. And more than that, he would have to prove that leadership isn't about power. It's about respect, about humanity, about seeing people for who they really are, not for what they appear to be. That was what Arthur wanted, and that was what Leo was determined to do. The Thompson Tech Auditorium could seat 500 people, and that afternoon it was packed. Employees from every department had been summoned for an emergency meeting. No one knew exactly what was happening. Rumors were flying through the hallways. They said executives had been fired, that a street kid had taken over the company, that Mr. Thompson was very ill, that everything was about to change. Leo was backstage, waiting. His hands were shaking. Mary was by his side, holding his hand. "You'll do great, my son. I know you will." "What if they despise me too, Mum?" "Then you'll show them you're bigger than their contempt." Mr. Paul Harrison approached. "It's time, Leo. They're waiting." Leo took a deep breath. Mary kissed his forehead. "Go, my son, show them what you're made of." Leo pushed his chair toward the stage. When he reached the side, he paused. He could hear the murmur of the crowd, hundreds of voices talking at once, speculating, judging, waiting. Mr. Alexander went on stage first. He tapped the microphone, testing it. The auditorium fell silent. "Good afternoon, everyone. I know you must be confused about everything that's happening. That's why we've called this meeting. Today, Thompson Tech has undergone a significant change, and I would like to introduce you to the new owner of this company." He gave a signal. Leo pushed his chair up the side ramp of the stage. When he appeared, the auditorium went completely silent. 500 pairs of eyes were fixed on him, on the wheelchair, on the simple clothes, on the young face. Leo stopped at the center of the stage, next to the microphone. His heart was beating so fast, he was sure everyone could hear it. Mr. Alexander continued. "I present to you Leo Sullivan, the new owner of 82% of Thompson Tech's shares. The transfer was made official today with full legal backing." The silence continued. But now it was a different kind of silence, not of contempt, but of shock, of disbelief. Some people whispered, others stared, dumbfounded. A boy? A boy in a wheelchair? How could it be? Leo approached the microphone. He adjusted the height. He looked out at the audience. He saw faces of all ages, men, women, young, old, people who had worked there for years, people who had families, bills, dreams. And now they were all looking at him, waiting. "Good afternoon," Leo began, his voice trembling slightly. "My name is Leo Sullivan. I'm 14 years old. I lived on the street with my parents, and until a few hours ago I spent my days collecting recyclables to survive." The murmuring grew louder. Leo continued. "I know you must be wondering how this is possible, how a street kid can be the owner of this company. And I'm going to tell you." He then told the story, the day in the park, the man on the ground, the people who passed by and didn't stop. How he, a boy in a wheelchair, was the only one who helped. How he met Arthur Thompson. How they spent months talking, learning from each other. How Arthur decided to leave everything to him and how he asked Leo to take a test. "The test was simple," Leo explained. "I was supposed to come here dressed as I am now, with no proof, no documents, and introduce myself as the new owner. He wanted to see how people would treat me, if they would respect me for my word, or if they would judge me by my appearance. Some employees began to understand. Others were still confused." Leo continued, his voice growing firmer. "This morning, when I arrived here, I was treated like an intruder, like a beggar. The receptionist told me to leave. The security guard threatened me. When I went upstairs and entered the boardroom, the executives laughed at me. They called me a cripple, an invader, a nobody. They said this place was for important people. And me, I was just trash. Someone who didn't deserve to be here." The auditorium was now in absolute silence. Every word from Leo echoed. He could see the expressions on some people's faces changing. Shame, embarrassment. Others, however, seemed skeptical. "But there was one person," Leo continued. "An employee who didn't laugh, who didn't judge, who saw me as a human being, and you know what she did? She offered me a glass of water. Something simple, something anyone should do, but in that room she was the only one. And for that, she was the only one who stayed." He pointed to Beatrice, who was sitting in the front row, her eyes red from crying. "Beatrice Martin, now our Chief Operating Officer." The audience turned to look at Beatrice. Some applauded timidly, others remained silent. Leo took a deep breath. "And now, you must be wondering, what's going to happen to the company, to you? Well, I didn't come here to destroy what Mr. Thompson built. I came to make it better. Because what he built was good, but the way some people treated others, that wasn't good. And that is going to change." He paused. He looked at the faces in the crowd. "From this day forward, in this company, no one will be measured by their title, their appearance, or their money. They will be measured by their character, by how they treat people, by how they work as a team, by how they contribute to an environment where everyone feels respected." Some employees began to applaud, hesitantly at first, but gradually the applause grew. Others remained with their arms crossed, skeptical. Leo continued, "I know many of you probably think I don't know anything. And you're right. I don't know anything about business. I barely finished middle school. But I do know something important. I know what it's like to be invisible. I know what it's like to be judged before you even open your mouth. And I know that here in this company there are a lot of people who feel that way. Invisible, undervalued, ignored. The applause stopped. Now, everyone was listening intently. There are people here who have worked for years and never been promoted. There are people who give their all every day and have never received a thank you. There are people who have brilliant ideas but have never been heard because they don't have the right title, or they don't speak loudly enough, or they simply don't fit the mold of what a leader should be. And that ends today. Now, the auditorium erupted in applause. Employees stood up. Some were crying, others were smiling. For the first time in years, they felt that they mattered. Leo waited for the applause to die down. I'm not saying, it's going to be easy. I'm going to make mistakes, a lot of mistakes. But I promise you one thing, I will listen to you. I will treat each of you with respect. And I expect you to do the same for one another. Because this company isn't mine, it's ours. All of ours. The applause returned, even stronger. Leo looked to the side, saw Mary in the wings crying with pride. He saw Mr. Paul Harrison smiling. He saw Beatrice in the front row, on her feet, applauding vigorously. And he felt for the first time that maybe he could do it. Maybe he could really make a difference. When the applause finally ceased, Leo concluded, Thank you for listening to me, and now let's get to work, together. He left the stage to applause and cheers of support. Backstage, Mary hugged him tightly. I knew it, my son, I always knew you were special. John was leaning against the wall, wiping away tears with the back of his hand. You made your old man cry, kid, with pride. Leo smiled, but he knew the speech was just the beginning. Now he had to prove that he had. Words were not empty. In the following days, Leo immersed himself in his work. With the help of consultants and private tutors, he began to learn about management, finance, marketing. He studied in the morning, afternoon, and evening. He compensated for years of lost education with determination and focus. Arthur was right. He was a quick learner. He absorbed information like a sponge. But more important than his studies, Leo began to implement real changes. The first was to create a direct communication channel between himself and the employees. Anyone from any department could send suggestions, complaints, or simply talk, and Leo responded to every single one, personally. The second change was to review all promotions from the last 5 years. He discovered that many deserving people had been overlooked due to subtle prejudices. Women who never advanced because they weren't assertive enough. Older employees who were passed over for being outdated. Black people, people with disabilities, LGBTQIA+ people who, covertly or overtly, were left behind. Leo corrected these injustices, one by one. The third change was in the company's culture. He implemented a strict code of conduct. Any form of discrimination, harassment, or disrespect would result in immediate termination. It didn't matter the position. It didn't matter how much profit the person generated. Character came first. There was resistance, of course. Some of the old managers complained. They said Leo was being idealistic, that the real world didn't work that way. But Leo stood firm. If you don't agree with the company's values, you're free to leave. And some did leave. But to Leo's surprise, many more stayed. And what's more, the news of what was happening at Thompson Tech spread. Other companies started paying attention. Newspapers published articles. TV stations requested interviews. Leo declined most of them. He didn't want fame. He just wanted to do the right thing. But there was one interview he accepted, for a small radio show aimed at young people. When asked what motivated him, Leo replied, I want no child to grow up feeling worthless. I want everyone to know that where you come from doesn't define who you are. What defines you is what you do with the opportunities you have. The interview went viral. In a few days, Leo became a symbol of overcoming adversity, of hope. But he didn't let the fame get to him. He remained focused on his work. 3 months after taking over, Leo received a phone call. It was from the hospital. Arthur had taken a turn for the worse. Leo dropped everything and went there. When he entered the room, he saw Arthur lying down, thinner, paler, but still smiling. "Leo, my boy, you came." "Of course I came, Mr. Thompson." "Sit here. Tell me how things are." Leo told him everything, the changes, the challenges, the victories. Arthur listened, nodding, his eyes shining with pride. "You're doing everything right, Leo, everything right. I just wish you were there to see it." "I am seeing it. Wherever I am, I'll be seeing it." Leo felt the tears. "Don't talk like that, Mr. Thompson. You're going to get better." Arthur held the boy's hand. "Leo, we don't live forever, and that's okay. What's important is what we leave behind. And me, I'm leaving you, and that's more than I could have ever asked for." Leo couldn't hold back his sobs. He hugged Arthur, feeling the frail body of the man who had changed his life. "Promise me one more thing, Leo." "What?" "Promise me you'll continue to be who you are, that you won't let power corrupt you, that you'll always remember where you came from." "I promise," Arthur smiled. "Then that's good. Now go. You have a company to run." Leo didn't want to leave, but he knew Arthur was right. He promised to come back the next day, but when he woke up he received the news. Arthur had passed away during the night, peacefully, calmly. The funeral was simple, as Arthur had requested. Few people attended, but all the employees of Thompson Tech were there. They formed a long line to pay their respects. Leo gave a speech, his voice choked with emotion. He talked about how Arthur had saved him, how he had believed in him when no one else did, how he taught him that character is worth more than anything. When he finished, the employees applauded, not a joyful applause, but a respectful one, a dignified farewell. In the following months, Leo transformed Thompson Tech. The company, which was already large, grew even larger. But not just in profit. It grew in respect, in culture, in humanity. It became a benchmark in the market. Other companies began to copy its practices. And Leo remained the boy who had lived on the street, humble, respectful, grateful. He created a social program. He hired young people experiencing homelessness, gave them training, offered them housing. Many became brilliant employees. Some even became managers. Thompson Tech became synonymous with a second chance, with opportunity, with hope. Mary and John went back to school. Mary took a culinary course and opened a small bakery with the money Leo gave her. John, who had loved woodworking since he was young, set up a workshop. They both fulfilled dreams they thought were impossible. And every night, they had dinner together, thankful for everything they had. Leo, despite all the changes, never forgot. Every Monday he visited the underpass where he used to live. He brought food, blankets, and talked to the people there. Some recognized him, others didn't. But everyone was treated with respect, with dignity, as human beings. On one of these visits, Leo met a little boy. He couldn't have been more than 10. He was alone, dirty, hungry. Leo approached him, offered him food. The boy ate quickly, as if he hadn't eaten in days. Then he looked at Leo. "Thank you, sir." "You're welcome. What's your name?" "Peter." "Nice to meet you, Peter. I'm Leo." Peter looked at the wheelchair. "Do you live here too, sir?" "I used to. Now I have a home, but I never forget where I came from." "And how did you get out of here?" Leo smiled. "Someone believed in me, and now I want to believe in you. How about that?" Peter's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Leo gave Peter his business card. "When you turn 15, find me. I'll give you a chance to study, to work, to have a different life. Deal?" Peter held the card with both hands, as if it were a treasure. Deal. And Leo knew in that moment that the cycle would continue. Arthur had believed in him. He had believed in Beatrice, in so many others. And now he believed in Peter. And Peter, one day, would believe in someone else. And so, the chain of kindness would go on, infinite, transformative, because in the end, it doesn't matter how much you have, it matters how much you give. And Leo, Leo had a lot to give. A year had passed since Leo took over Thompson Tech. And that day specifically was a momentous one. It was Leo's 15th birthday. But more than that, it was the day he would inaugurate the most important project of his life, the Arthur Thompson Institute, a vocational training center aimed at vulnerable youth. The building was in the Bronx, in a neighborhood Leo knew well. It was near the underpass where he had lived. The place had equipped classrooms, a library, a cafeteria, and dormitories for those who needed them. And the best part, everything was free. Leo invested millions of his own money. He didn't want sponsorships. He wanted it to be pure, a true legacy. On the morning of the inauguration, Leo woke up early. He looked out the window of the apartment where he lived with his parents. The view was beautiful. He could see the city waking up. But for a moment, he closed his eyes and remembered the underpass, the cold, the hunger, the feeling of being invisible, and he was grateful, not for the pain, but for everything it had taught him. Mary entered the room with a homemade chocolate cake. "Good morning, birthday boy. You're 15, my son." Leo smiled. "Thanks, Mom. The cake looks beautiful." John appeared right behind her carrying a wrapped gift. "Happy birthday, kid. This is for you." Leo opened it. It was a new wheelchair. Not just any chair, but one handmade by John. Lightweight, durable, customized. Leo ran his hand over the polished metal, emotional. "Dad, it's perfect. You deserve the best, son, you always have." The three of them had breakfast together. They talked about the day, about the inauguration, about how everything had changed. Mary confessed that sometimes she still woke up startled, thinking she was at the underpass, that it was all a dream, but then she would look around and see that it was real, that they had a home, that they were safe, and she would thank God and Arthur. Around 10 in the morning, Leo arrived at the Institute. A crowd was already waiting. Employees from Thompson Tech, formerly homeless people Leo had helped, journalists, curious onlookers, and at the center of it all a huge banner, Arthur Thompson Institute, because character transforms lives. Beatrice was organizing everything. In recent months, she had proven to be an incredible leader. Efficient, fair, humane. The company prospered under her operational management, and she never forgot where she came from. She treated the cleaning staff with the same respect she treated the executives. It was exactly what Leo wanted. "All set, boss?" Beatrice asked, smiling. "All set. You did an amazing job, Bea. We did it together. You gave me the chance. I just took it." Leo looked around. He saw familiar faces. He saw Peter, the boy he met at the underpass. He was there in a new uniform, ready to be one of the Institute's first students. He also saw Vanessa, the former receptionist who had humiliated him. She was across the street watching from a distance. Her eyes met Leo's. She looked down, embarrassed, and walked away. Leo didn't feel anger. He felt pity, because she was still trapped in the world of appearances. And him? He was free. At 11 o'clock, the ceremony began. Leo was invited to cut the ribbon. But first, he asked to speak. They brought up a small makeshift stage. Leo took the microphone. The crowd fell silent. "Good morning, everyone. Today is a special day for me. Not just because I'm turning 15, but because I'm fulfilling a dream. A dream that is not just mine, but that of a man who changed my life. Arthur Thompson." He pointed to a large photo of Arthur at the entrance of the Institute. "Mr. Thompson believed in me when no one else did. He gave me an opportunity when no one else would. He taught me that a person's value is not in what they have, but in who they are. And today I want to do the same for other people." The crowd applauded. Leo continued. "This institute will offer vocational courses, high school education, psychological support, and even temporary housing for those who need it. We want young people who are on the streets, who have nowhere to go, who think they have no future, to know that they do, that the past does not define the future, that there is always hope." More applause. Leo saw tears in many faces. He saw hope. And I want to make it clear, this institute is not charity. It's justice. Because everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves to be seen. And here, you will be seen. You will be respected. You will be valued because you matter. The ovation was thunderous. Leo cut the ribbon. The doors opened and dozens of young people entered. Their eyes were shining. It was the chance they had been waiting for, the chance to start over. During the afternoon, Leo gave a tour of the institute. He talked with each young person. He asked their names, their stories, their dreams, and he listened, really listened, just as Arthur had done with him. One of the youths, a 16-year-old named Raphael, asked, "Is it true that you used to live on the street?" "It's true." "And how did you get out?" "With help, and with determination. Someone gave me a hand when I needed it, and now I want to give you a hand." Raphael smiled. "Thank you, sir." "Don't call me sir, call me Leo." "Okay, Leo." At the end of the afternoon, when everyone had left, Leo was alone in the institute. He walked through the empty corridors, he touched the walls, he looked out the window, and he felt Arthur's presence, not physically but in the air, in the essence, in that place that carried his name and his legacy. Leo then went to the library. In the center, there was a statue of Arthur, seated, with a book in his hand, smiling. Leo approached it. He looked at the plaque at the base, Arthur Thompson, a man who believed in the impossible. "I did it, Mr. Thompson," Leo whispered. "I did it." And in that moment, he felt a deep peace, as if Arthur were there saying, "I always knew you would." Leo returned home at nightfall. He found Mary and John preparing a special dinner, cake, snacks, soda, simple but made with love. The three of them ate together, laughing, talking, giving thanks. After dinner, Leo went to his room. He sat on the bed. He took out an old notebook he had kept since his days on the street. He opened it. It was full of notes, dreams he had. To one day have a house. To one day go to school. To one day make a difference. He took a pen and wrote, "One day help others as I was helped." And then he crossed it out, because that dream had already become a reality. The next morning, Leo woke up to a phone call. It was Beatrice. "Leo, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "We received over 1,000 applications for the institute in less than 24 hours. 1,000? 1,000. And the press is asking for interviews. Everyone wants to know about the institute, about you." Leo felt the weight of responsibility, but also the excitement. 1,000 young people, 1,000 lives that could be transformed. "Tell the press I'll only give an interview if they highlight the youth, not me. I want their stories to be told." Deal. In the following months, the Arthur Thompson Institute became a national benchmark. Politicians visited. Business people wanted to donate. Other institutes wanted to replicate the model. And Leo? Leo remained steadfast. He didn't let fame go to his head. He continued to visit the underpass every Monday. He continued to talk to young people. He continued to be human. Thompson Tech also prospered. Under the leadership of Leo and Beatrice, the company doubled in size, but not just in revenue, in social impact. They created an internship program for youth from the institute. Many were hired full-time. Some became leaders. The company became a model of inclusion. Leo also went back to formal schooling. With private tutors, he managed to complete middle and high school in record time. He applied for college. He was accepted into the business administration program at Columbia University. When the news broke, it made newspaper headlines. But Leo didn't want the spotlight. He just wanted to learn, to be better, to do more. At the university, he made friends. At first, some treated him differently, because of the chair, because of the fame. But over time, they saw that Leo was just Leo, a normal guy, who liked pizza, who rooted for the Yankees, who laughed at bad jokes, and who treated everyone with respect. There was a classmate named Mariana who got close to him. She was studying law and also volunteered in social projects. The two connected immediately. They talked about everything, about the world, about justice, about change. and slowly the friendship turned into something more. Leo fell in love for the first time. Mariana didn't see the chair, she didn't see the money, she saw Leo, the boy with the enormous heart, and Leo saw in her the partner he had always wanted, someone who understood his mission, who shared his values, who challenged him to be better. On the second anniversary of the Institute, Leo gave an emotional speech. He talked about everything they had accomplished. 200 young people graduated, 150 employed, 20 businesses started by former students, numbers that represented lives, futures, hope. And then, Leo announced something new. Starting today, we are expanding. We're going to open institutes in other cities, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami. We want to reach the entire country, because every young person deserves a chance. Every young person deserves to be seen. The audience exploded in applause. Mary and John were crying in the front row. Beatrice stood beside Leo, smiling with pride. Mariana held his hand, squeezing it gently. And Peter, the boy Leo had met at the underpass, now 13 and studying at the Institute, looked at Leo like a hero. After the event, Leo went to the cemetery. He visited Arthur every week. He brought flowers. He talked. He shared the news. And he gave thanks. He always gave thanks. Mr. Thompson, we did it. The Institute is growing. Lives are changing. And it's all thanks to you. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for teaching me that character is worth more than anything. I'll never forget. The wind blew gently. The leaves on the trees rustled. And Leo felt once again that Arthur was there. Proud, happy, at peace. That night at home, Leo wrote a letter. Not to send to anyone, but to himself. To remember where he came from. To never forget. Dear Leo, he began. If you are reading this, it's because you've come a long way. A very long way, but remember, the path was not easy. There was pain, humiliation, despair, but there was also love, hope, and people who believed. Arthur believed. Your mother believed. Your father believed. And you believed in yourself. Now keep believing, keep helping, keep being human, because in the end it doesn't matter how many companies you own, how many awards you've won, how much fame you've achieved. What matters is how many lives you've touched, how many people you've helped get back on their feet. And if you've done that, if you've truly made a difference, then your life was worthwhile. He folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Then he lay down on the bed. He looked at the ceiling, and he smiled, because he knew he was on the right path, that he was honoring Arthur, that he was making a difference. And as he closed his eyes, he thought of the 14-year-old boy who had walked into that building a year ago, scared, insecure, but brave. That boy changed everything, not because he had money, not because he had power, but because he had character. And character, as Arthur always said, is the only thing that truly matters. Leo fell asleep with a peaceful heart, because he knew that wherever Arthur was, he was smiling, proud of the boy he had saved, of the man he was becoming, and of the legacy they were building together, a legacy of respect, of humanity, of love. And so, the story of Leo Sullivan, the boy who lived on the street and became the owner of a company, was not just about overcoming adversity. It was about something bigger. It was about seeing the invisible, about believing in the impossible, about treating every human being with dignity, because in the end we are all the same. We all deserve respect. We all deserve a chance. And if Leo managed to transform his life, transform a company, transform hundreds of other lives, it was because someone one day stopped to see him. Not as a street kid, not as someone in a wheelchair, but as Leo, a human being, with dreams, with value, with a future. And that lesson, that simple yet profound truth, is what Leo would carry with him forever. And it is what he would pass on to Peter, to Raphael, to every young person who crossed his path. Because the cycle of good does not end. It multiplies, and every person who is helped can help another. And so, little by little, the world changes, not with grand gestures, but with small acts of kindness, with respect, with humanity, with the courage to stop and see the other person, to truly see. And when we do that, when we treat each person as they deserve to be treated, regardless of their appearance, their condition, their history, then we are doing what really matters. We are being human. And in the end, that's what counts. That's what lasts. That's what transforms. Leo learned this from Arthur, and now he was teaching it to the world, because he knew that every life matters, every story deserves to be told, and every person, absolutely every person, has the right to be seen, to be respected, to be loved. And if you who are hearing this story now learn anything, let it be this. Never judge a book by its cover. Never look down on someone for their appearance, because you never know who is in front of you. It could be someone who will change your life. It could be someone who will change the world. Or it could simply be someone who needs a little kindness, a little respect, a little humanity. And everyone deserves that. Everyone. Leo knew this, and he lived it every day. And that was his greatest legacy, not the money, not the fame, but the certainty that he treated every person with dignity. And that, in the end, is everything. It is more than enough. It is what truly transforms the world, because character, as Arthur always said, is worth more than any diploma, any bank account, any title. Character is what defines who we are. And Leo? Leo had character. He always had. And thanks to that, his life, his story, his journey touched the hearts of thousands, and will continue to touch them for generations. Because stories like this don't die, they inspire, they transform, they remind us of what really matters. And as long as there are people like Leo in the world, people who choose kindness, empathy, respect, then there is hope. There is always hope. And that is the final message of this story. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen. What matters is that you get up, that you believe in yourself, that you treat others with respect, and that you never, ever lose your humanity. Because that is what defines us. That is what makes us special. And that is what makes the difference. Leo understood this at 14, and he changed his life. He changed his family's life. He changed the lives of hundreds of young people. He changed an entire company, and now his story is changing you. Because when we hear stories like this, when we connect with someone's humanity, something in us also changes. We become a little better, a little kinder, a little more human. And that's what Leo wanted. Not fame, not recognition, but simply that every person who heard his story would leave transformed, would leave with the desire to be better, to make a difference, to see the invisible. And if you who have heard this story feel that now, then mission accomplished, then Leo won, then Arthur won, and then we all win, because in the end, we're not so different. We all want to be seen. We all want to be respected. We all want to matter. And when we give that to others, when we treat each person with dignity, we are not only changing their life, but our own as well. We are becoming better, more complete, more human. And that is the final lesson. That is the truth that Leo discovered, and that he now passes on to you. Be kind, be respectful, be human, because you never know the impact a simple gesture can have. A glass of water, a kind word, a look that sees, truly sees, the person in front of you. It can change everything. It changed for Leo, and it can change for you. So go. Go and be the change you want to see in the world. Go and treat people as you would like to be treated. Go and believe in the impossible. Because if Leo could do it, if a 14-year-old boy who lived on the street in a wheelchair could transform everything around him, then you can too. We all can. That is the message. That is the hope. And that is the story of Leo Sullivan. A boy who proved that character is worth more than anything, and that with kindness, respect, and humanity we can change the world, one heart at a time. Dear listeners, we hope that the story of Leo and Arthur has deeply touched your heart. If you were moved by this journey of overcoming, respect, and transformation, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments what marked you the most in this story. What was the moment that moved you the most? Have you ever been in a similar situation? Every day we bring intense stories like this one, which reveal the deepest side of the human soul and remind us of what truly matters in life. Don't miss the next episode. We'll be waiting for you here, always with more stories that inspire, move, and transform. A big hug, and see you next time.